And we are live. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Saturday morning, looking a bit hazy out there, overcast, but still warm. Still a beautiful morning. Still a beautiful day. Beautiful day to be alive. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for checking us out. I'm Jerry Sr. with Jerry Jr.,
Morning.
and we are here to have a conversation and talk about all things entertainment, pop culture, and some of our favorites and not so favorites. And please feel free to join in and give us your take, your opinion, or ask us questions, whatever you want. Um, it's appreciated. And if you're watching afterwards, thanks for watching. Uh, your patronage is always appreciated. So today, first things we're talking about James Gunn's Superman, right? It's
Well,
in
yeah.
production right now, right? And he shared some stills from the set. We've seen Superman's newly designed suit. We've seen a few other characters.
So
Um,
from what I recommend, or from what I remember, James Gunn, he does obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, right?
that's right.
He worked on the arguably better Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't personally care for Suicide Squad, but I heard that I generally hear that the James Gunn version is better. So
Yeah,
that's
it
what.
is. It's better. I've seen both
And I've seen some,
versions,
yeah.
and I didn't like the first version, and the second version is markedly better. My biggest criticism was that he killed Polka Dot Man. I was mad about that, but but other than that, it is it's a good movie. It's solid. It's fun. Then there's Peacemaker. It's a decent series. I think that was on Max, and yeah, that was decent. It was a good watch. John Cena
Okay.
was good as Peacemaker. You know, he was Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad movie, so
Hmm.
they spun it off into a show. So yeah, and of course there's the Guardians of the Galaxies, all three. James Gunn all the way. So he's proven he has a good proven track record of delivering good movies that are entertaining, that are fun. Um, solid characterizations. So yeah, hearing about him kind of taking over at DC and taking a lead to reboot everything, and he's starting with Superman. I have to admit, I was not excited. I was kind of like, I don't know, just because I'm not sure if it's a good fit, right? Um, but you know, because despite his great track record, there is a theme, right? There's a common thread of sort of irreverent humor, right? Um, Everything so far that we know of that he's done has been that, right? It's been kind of quirky, kind of fun. Guardians of the
Sure, but
Galaxy was kind of irreverent humor. The
I
Outcast,
think
Mavericks, and
I
here
think
we
that's kind
are.
of typecasting it though, because I mean, to be fair,
Well, no, it's not
even
typecasting. It's just looking at the track record and saying, okay, it's like you have to look. It's
I
like a
get it,
resume.
but the entirety of
You have to say what has he done that's
yeah,
reflective of what he's doing now, and everything that we know of that he's done doesn't reflect like Superman, right? Superman
sure,
is very
but the
different
entirety
from
of
Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Very
I know,
different
but the
from
entirety
Suicide
of
Squad.
Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't just irreverent humor, right? Like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 proved that he could tell a more serious story and still have the humor at the same time, right? You had the
Well,
backstory with
he did
Rocket
that
Raccoon
in
and
two, in the second one, right?
yeah, so I'm just saying the entirety of the movies wasn't just irreverent humor. There was a lot more to those
No,
movies
that's
than
not what I'm
just that.
saying. What I'm saying though, that's the common thread. It's, in other words, he can take obscure characters and he can play up those characteristics, such as irreverent humor, being a maverick, being an outcast, etc. And that's the theme that we see with Guardians of the Galaxy. We see with Suicide Squad, right? And with the Peacemaker, right? So
Hmm.
that's what I'm saying. Like he's good at that, right? That's what he's been doing. Now we're getting into a character that's mainstream. He's not an outcast. He's not a quirky character. He's
That's
not.
true, but
You
Superman
understand?
isn't the
So
only character in the movie, though.
I understand that, but you're missing what I'm saying. right? He's literally spearheading the project. He's not just on focused on those type of characters. Superman is Superman. So the question, like in my mind, is okay. So can he give us a portrayal of Superman that honors the legacy of Superman? That it feels like Superman, right? Like, is he
Yeah,
going to
I
cast
think
the right person? Is the sets and the costumes going to be solid? Is the story going to be something that ultimately inspires, right? It's
yeah,
all
and
those
I think
questions come to
he
mind, right?
I think he will, and there's a couple reasons why. So, admittedly, first off, when I first saw like the poster or whatever, the teaser poster, I wasn't impressed because it was just kind of boring. Like
Yeah, I agree. It was him
it
just
was
grabbing his boots or something.
it would have been cooler to see like a callback of him in the phone booth or something, and you
Yeah,
see the
that would have
crowds
been
running,
cool. I agree. Yeah,
or at least him in
yeah,
the
yeah,
him changing in the middle of a crowd. That would have been
yeah,
cool.
yeah. It would
Some
have
sort
been.
of
I agree.
variation of that.
Yeah, something, some
Um,
type of action. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I agree.
But outside of that, from what I've been seeing, the more screenshots I see, and the more, I guess, and be fair, this is stuff from Twitter, so can't take it off for a great assault, but I do like the direction that the story's going. So it seems so far. First off, I think the casting is good because the guy who's playing Superman, and of course by extension Clark Kent, actually looks like he is a farm boy. Like he looks like he was raised on a farm. Like he's built like somebody who was raised in Midwest America. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah. I mean, he looks the part for sure. I mean, a
and
lot of
I've
a lot of
seen.
folks wish it was Henry Cavill instead, but
Oh, sure, absolutely. But it's a and I'm not. I don't. I'm not too familiar with the current actor. But like I say, he looks like when you see the screenshots of the Clark Kent like behind the set. He looks like it is day and night. Like Clark Kent, he looks like a disheveled, mild mannered person, and then when he's Superman, he looks like
he looks
Superman.
like
So
yeah,
far,
yeah. So
that
far,
that's pretty good.
that's been yeah. I agree. That's been
Two, it looks like there are the quirky superhero team in question is going towards some variation of the Justice League of America, so to speak. Because I've seen screenshots of Hawk Girl,
yeah,
what looks like Guy Gardner,
yeah. We've seen
um,
Mr. Terrific, right?
yeah, Mr. Terrific, which is pretty cool. So I think the quote unquote, misfit team role is going to be going towards the Justice Society of America, Justice League of America, whatever, and not necessarily Superman himself. Because from what I've read bits and pieces of the story direction, it's going to be almost like a reversal of Kingdom Come. So if for those who are not familiar with Kingdom Come, the gist of the story was Superman represented the older generation of heroes, trying to instill a sense of morality in the new generation. But in this movie, it seems like Superman is the newer hero, and he's showing a better way to do
Yeah,
things to the
yeah.
older.
From what I've heard regarding the story plot is that other heroes are more quick to use violence and to not violence, but to actually take a life. And Superman is one that comes in and says, "Well, no, there's a better way. We're not going to just kill people. We're not going to." Just because they're villains, we're not going to just take them out, right? We're going to stop them and bring them to justice. So that's going to be the sort of defining characteristic as a hero that Superman brings to the table
Yeah,
in this iteration is that other heroes apparently are more inclined to take a life, and Superman obviously is not, right, and he's gonna
yeah,
and then going up against Lex Luthor, and obviously he's going to be a war profiteer, a warmonger, and I think he's going to end up Superman's going to end up fighting Bizarro, right? So and that's that's going to be interesting to see. I like hearing that we're gonna get a Superman that is principled like that. So we'll see, how it's executed, right? Because another aspect is, um, he's gonna emphasize Superman's humanity and his desire to help people, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to get more of him being this sort of moral icon of someone that uses his abilities to actually help people, both in both iterations as Clark Kent and as Superman.
Yeah.
So I like that for sure. I definitely that gets me excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my criticisms of the previous iteration with Man of Steel and then Batman versus Superman was that Superman didn't feel like Superman, right? He felt like this depressed, I don't know, like
Yeah.
like very cynical. Um, there was nothing inspiring about him really, and that was disappointing. While visually, the movie was great, and I'm talking about Man of Steel and even Batman versus
Uh huh.
Superman. Visually, they were great. They were spectacular, great fight scenes and all that stuff. The story, the narrative, and the themes, I just felt like they were kind of weak. It didn't really play out well. It felt rushed. And more importantly, it's like, what was this guiding principle for Superman? It wasn't truth and justice, right? It was, I don't know, like it was kind of like, well, I just got to do this stuff because things are happening and I have to
Yeah.
react.
It kind of played up this sort of fake it till you make it mentality,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
didn't like.
especially in Batman versus Superman, it was just kind of like,
Yeah.
like what is
And I
happening?
and I just want to specify like Superman because a lot of people they think Superman is boring because he's nice or whatever, and it's like what makes Superman Superman isn't that he's nice; it's that he's good, right? And I bring up the example of a lot of I know there's some fans of the what's it the My Adventures of Superman show on Adult Swim,
Yeah,
which is kind of weird that it's on Adult Swim. It doesn't seem like a very like it's not like an edgy show or
well,
it's
give
just
them time. They've already changed up a few things
I
as
mean yeah, but I mean super the reason I didn't care for that show is because Superman in that show just feels like a wimp. Like it's
yeah,
like yeah, I get that he's nice. You save the cat from a tree. That's cool. But it's like even like the first episode is like it's like it feels like the writers don't like if like there was no like when he meets Lois there was no real chemistry, right? It's just I don't know if you ever saw the first episode, but like he opens the door for
yeah. I
Lois
saw the first episode.
and like she says like go get him tiger like what kind of interaction was that? It was dumb and it's
Well, I
like
guess they've kind of reimagined him. I think in an attempt to update him or something, so they got some. It's more anime like in certain references, right?
yeah I'm not a
And
fan of that
the
either.
way his powers are manifesting, it doesn't make a lot of sense based on the myth. It's like it's an established mythos here. It's not like he's this obscure character that no one really knows about, so you get to
Yeah.
play and kind of add stuff. It's like everything's already established. Like, we don't need to reimagine Superman, just portray Superman, right? And that's kind of one of the criticisms I have of that particular show. We can talk about that another time, but with James Gunn, like I said, I have my doubts. Although so
But
far,
the
hearing about the story narrative, the potential story narrative, that gives me hope.
yeah,
I
but the
don't
point
I
I was
don't
trying
like
to
the. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well the point I was trying to finish is that yeah he's nice in the show like he's a nice guy but like that's not like people are like oh Superman's too he's not too nice he's good right like one of my favorite like yeah one of my favorite episodes of like the Justice League cartoon is when he has to. like I mean, one of the lingering like plot points is whether Superman will kill Lex Luthor, right? Just out of anger, because he like there's a conspiracy uh, that he'll like
Yeah,
become
because
president, kill the Flash,
well,
and like
right
start.
because of Crisis on Two
Yeah,
Worlds.
because it happened in the alternate
Yeah,
Earth, in the alternate universe.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
right. So that was and we find out eventually that he doesn't. Right, he
no,
makes
he
the
doesn't. Yeah, but he's thought like he's clearly like thought about it, but he realized, but
right.
he's
Even
a
in the series, he confesses that he's thought about it. He's just
yeah
never acted on it. Right, but that's what makes that was actually a brilliant stroke because it showed like okay, yeah, there's these parallel worlds, but there's still only one Superman. Even
yeah
though the other
exactly.
world
Like
had
that's
a
what makes
Superman,
Superman Superman
but
is that
he's our
he is
Superman because
he
he
is
wouldn't do
human,
that.
but he
Yeah,
always makes the better choice in spite of himself,
exactly, and that
right?
was
And that's
actually
what makes
brilliant
him good.
because it lets you understand. That's why I like the first Injustice game as well, because ultimately we realize this isn't our Superman. This so therefore he's not the Superman.
Yeah, he's not the
The real
Superman.
Superman came from they brought him in and he defeats at least one of the versions of the game, right? He defeats the bad Superman and takes him down. And
Yeah,
it's like that's what makes Superman Superman is that moral judgment, right? The fact that he is willing to make the hard choice, right? Like you said, despite
yeah, because
himself,
people forget
because
that.
he knows it's right. It's the
Yeah,
right thing to do. Yeah.
because people forget that. I think people. I don't know. I'm getting kind of, but it's like people. It seems like people forget that being good is hard, right?
Well,
Like
being good is
people.
hard.
Yeah, no, it
It is.
is. I'm just saying people act like it's not. Like, oh, well, he's nice. That's boring. It's like, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, it's not right.
If
But
written well, it's
especially
not.
when faced with adversity, it's incredibly hard
Yeah,
to be good, to continue to do what is
yeah, and
objectively
so
right. Yeah, that's
yeah, and
exactly
so I
what it is.
think the whole I think Superman's endearing morality works. Like you could show him, you know, saving a cat out of the tree. That's fine, but like it's more impactful when he's faced with you know actual life-threatening situations where he has to make these decisions. So I hope that happens and we get to see that play out because that's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
where
and it sounds like that's the direction which I am happy about that. The only thing I'm right now that's really keeping me outside of it being James Gunn is the uniform. Like I don't like it. I don't like the design.
I think
Um,
it's fine. I mean, I
too,
get
it's too
extra shoulder padding is a little
yeah.
weird, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't get
think
all that.
I don't think it's bad. I mean, it just
It's not very good at all. It doesn't look good. So someone commented on Twitter or something that maybe it's like an early iteration, like when he's first becomes Superman, then he's gonna upgrade it or something. I'm like okay maybe, but I don't know. It
I mean,
has
I
this
doubt
sort
it.
of classic feel. Like it makes me think of like the Rocketeer, right?
Yeah,
But Superman is not the Rocketeer, right? Superman is Superman. So yeah, I'm not really feeling it. It just looks weird. It's baggy. It doesn't really accentuate his physique, where he looks like you know, like he's Superman, right? Like a superhero.
uh-huh.
And even some of the other uh, characters, like Mr. Terrific. I mean, Mr. Terrific actually looks decent.
I will
Like he
say he
has,
looks pretty spot
yeah,
on.
he's pretty close to.
Like I like the way Mr. Terrific looks.
Yeah, it's not bad. So, because he's got the fair play. I mean, I like that. So,
Yeah, the
but
jacket
yeah,
looks dope.
but
Yeah,
looking at Superman next to it, it's like, yo, what is he wearing? It's like this puffy foam. I don't know, foam rubber suit. Like it just doesn't look
yeah. I think
good.
the problem is it feels like it's trying to because for context, we all remember like Christopher Reeve when he did the thing, like they were going to give him like a
A muscle
bodysuit under
suit.
the
Yeah,
suit,
yeah,
but they're
that's right.
like, no, let me just work out,
Yeah,
so I can
but
play the
guess
role.
what?
So
He looks
here,
great.
Yeah, so here it feels like I'm not saying the dude's not buff. I don't think that's the issue. I think
No, that's not
the
it. You
issue
can
is that
clearly
the
see
suit
he's
makes it appear that it's trying to compensate for the lack
no,
of.
but you can no,
I don't
but
know.
you can clearly see the guy has a physique,
No, he
but
does, but I'm saying the suit
it's
makes it
actually
look.
yeah, but it's
I don't
actually
know.
hiding his physique. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of the irony of it. It's actually doing the opposite. Like it's not making him look bulk like he's strong. It's just obscuring the fact that he is. Like he's
yeah.
obviously a guy in good shape. It's just this puffy, baggy suit. Like it just doesn't. It's not logical. Like it's like why are they doing this? So I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, maybe it is some kind of early iteration that he eventually gets rid of and updates or upgrades to something better. But like yeah, like Christopher Reeve just said, look, I'm just gonna work out. You know, and yeah, and it worked. He looks great. He's a slender guy. He was tall. But it worked. He looked great. There was no need for fake muscles or anything like that. Um, I think his portrayal demonstrates that it's not about like just having this crazy, buff physique. It's just you just have to kind of look the part, be in good shape, obviously, and that was enough. And yeah, he pulled it off brilliantly. And but with what we're seeing with this particular, you know, I'm like, I don't see it. Like, what the, like, who made this and said and approved this? Like, yeah, this is it. Because and this is what's making me go, okay, maybe, you know, maybe James Gunn shouldn't be doing Superman. I don't know. So that's my,
I think it'll be. I think
so
it'll be a
far.
good movie.
I hope so. I hope like him having a crappy suit is the biggest issue of the movie, right? You know what I mean? Like seriously, hopefully this is as worse as it gets. Is that we just don't like the suit? That's fine. I can live with that because if the movie's awesome and he makes a great Superman slash Clark Kent and the story's great, hey,
Mhm.
that's all that matters, right? So if this is the biggest complaint I have is that the suit looks like garbage, that's fine. I can live with that. I think most people, most Superman fans could, right? But yeah, so far that's my thing is kind of like yeah, what's happening with this um, suit? Like I don't see I don't see the appeal.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
kind of
outside of the technical stuff, I mean, with the new Superman coming out in today's modern Zeitgeist, do you feel that uh, Superman is still relevant?
yeah, more so than ever before, to be honest, because he's such a contrast to a lot of the overall thinking. And we've seen in the comics world the attempts to redefine Superman and make him this sort of social justice paragon. And it's not working, right? Because it's not about some perceptual social just like Superman is not a champion of social justice, right? He's not. He never has been. He never will be. He's a champion of truth and justice, right? And that's it's relative to those who would threaten the lives and liberty of people, right? Generally, America, right? Truth, justice, in the American way. And then, later on, that expanded to the world, right? To the universe, even, right? The fact that it's not about you know, I don't know, these writers at DC, trying to create this sort of socially conscious Superman. It's like,
Well, it seems like that's the thing is with when you mentioned that it seems they're not this. It seems like they couldn't. They were too afraid to do that with Clark Kent, so they did it with his son because
yeah,
usually
yeah,
it's
they did.
It's
Eventually,
Jonathan Kent.
and now he's gay and all this kind. It's like, okay, it doesn't make any. It's the most ridiculous, illogical. Like it's just dumb, right? It's like, what are you thinking when you're doing these type of things and you say we're going to give Superman, the last of his kind from his planet, a gay son? it's the dumbest. Like it's like you're not you're literally
when
just saying
you put it that way.
I just want to send this message. Like that's all it is. Like it has nothing to do with the mythos or the logic of it. It's like let's just do it because it'll piss off the conservatives and this small, tiny little minority of fans will love it. Right. That's all it is. And that's what's so frustrating about it all. But yeah, Superman has always been relevant because he's iconic. And when we talked about this a while back, right? About being an icon and representing something beyond the thing itself, right? And Superman definitely represents something greater than just a superhero, right? Superman represents all that is good, all that we aspire to be as people, right? We aspire to do the right thing all the time, regardless of the challenges that we face, right? We aspire to be the best person we can be, right? To right wrongs when they cross our path, right? That's what Superman represents. And obviously there's religious connotations attached to that as well. And it's like, yeah, because in reality, we have a savior, right? So Superman represents that in fiction, right? The savior of humanity, right? Not just saving people from, a speeding train, right? But
Yeah.
demonstrating to the world what it means to be a good human being, right? To do what is right and aspiring towards greatness. And that's a good thing. That's something we need even today, more so uh, now than ever before, because there's so much going on in the culture itself, in America, in the West, right? There's a sharp resistance and departure from what we know to be true and to be right and to be good, right? There's a departure from that, and it's being fueled with, you know, essentially just Marxist dogma. I mean, that's basically what it is. That's the fundamental, foundational thing. It's all derived from that to subvert God, to subvert goodness, humanity, right, and emphasize selfishness, right, and group identity politics. And not just group identity in relation to culture, but group identity in relation to very vapid and superficial concepts like your skin color or who you prefer to have sex with. Like it's like to build your personality and your lifestyle and your worldview based on those superficial things. It's vapid, and it's no wonder people suffer because of it. Right? People just become more angry. Right? Things are not good. They're not getting better. They're getting worse because there's this hyper emphasis on such things. Right? Um, and yeah, I think we definitely need Superman. We definitely need, needing Superman is a metaphor for needing Christ, needing God, right? Needing the principles of the Bible, right? That's what it is. And a lot of people don't like to say that and don't like to acknowledge it, but it's true, right?
Mm.
And there's a reason why uh, there's a desire to subvert the concept of the superhero. um, it is because of that. It's because when you subvert those things, you're subverting the image of God. You're subverting the concept of godliness, right? Because that's what traditional superheroes represent: godliness, right? The reason why that's in the comics, it goes there, right? And you have the new gods and all these different things, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not a coincidence, right? It's because there is a general perception and understanding that we're reflecting what we think God is, right? What we think goodness is. So
Well, it's funny when people, um, I don't know if you know about the Starman meme.
no.
Okay, so there's this is like meme edit where because you see a lot of memes where people say like, oh, if I had superpowers, then I would end up like, and they'll show like pictures of like the Homelander or Omni Man or
Okay.
something,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But then like someone kind of took that and uh, they showed Superman and like clips of like guys dressed as Superman or really cool panels of Superman to like the Starman song by David Bowie. I don't know
Okay,
if you ever heard that song. Is
of
a
course.
star, yeah. So it's pretty cool. To I mean, I think it shows that people desire. I think there's a definite desire for a good Superman
Yeah,
that
of
inspires
course.
people,
Yeah,
and I think people. Uh, I think I think people. I think people really desire that sort of change and perspective of superheroes. It kind of reminds me of. It's kind of like how uh, you know one of your favorite animes is Gurren Lagann, right?
yeah, yeah.
But Gurren Lagann was sort of a response to much how like
Yeah, it was their inspiration from previous animes, um, like Get a Robo and stuff like
well,
that.
it's not even just that, but like keep in mind that studio I think was it Trigger or whatever.
Well, it became
Um,
Studio Trigger. Um, no, yeah, it was
oh,
Studio Trigger. It was Gynax
Gynex,
initially, and
yeah,
then it became Studio
yeah,
Trigger, and
it
now
was
they split
anime
up.
Gynex.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that like a lot of those people were like the same people who worked on Neon Genesis Evangelion. I don't know if you remember. You have it on
Yeah.
VHS, so I'm
Oh yeah.
assuming.
Yeah, it's the same, pretty much the same team. Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
well, I mean, sort of. Evangelion was to like anime or like robot anime or anime in general to like it was the anime that made giant robots I guess edgy or whatever in the sense that like it was like a deconstruction of the genre and like it was really
Yeah, for
depressing
sure. Yeah.
and you started to see a lot more of that like Code Geass comes to mind. It's not a very uplifting show.
Right.
You
Yeah,
start seeing a lot
it's
more
quite
subversions of
quite depressing.
genres
Yeah.
and sort of Gurren Lagann was more of a return to form of, hey, let's break past the sort of anime that was like, yeah, let's go the distance and believe in ourselves and all that cool stuff, right?
Right.
That used to be in the older anime, right? So it was more of a return to form to that, and I hope that this Superman movie will be that for superhero movies.
Yeah, I agree with that. It definitely could be. That's why, like with James Gunn, there is a little bit of hope in that, because you look, like I said, you look at his track record and you see a little bit of that. But you also see the cynicism, and that's where it made me leery. It's like, okay, are we going to get more cynicism, or are we going to get more into
I
the
don't know.
gore?
I guess maybe
So
because
that
I haven't seen Suicide Squad, but I really don't get cynicism from stuff like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
no, you don't. You don't. You
I
get
think I think
something
James
that's different.
Gunn
Yeah.
is smart enough to understand what works for what type of characters.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? That's the hope. See, this is the thing, right? We want to say, oh, this he should know
And
what
I
he's
only
doing,
say that
but
because, like I
the
said,
track
we've
record
gotten three
of
good Guardian movies.
yeah, I agree, but the
You
track
know,
record of
I
Hollywood in
think it's I
general,
think it's
it's not
literally the
it's
best
not promising,
trilogy
you know. Right,
outside of
but
Captain
those
America.
could just be anomalies. So
Maybe.
that's all I'm saying. Those could just be anomalies, right? That's all I'm saying is I don't want to hang my hat on. Yeah, he could do it because he did it with Guardians. It's like, well, okay, he did it with Guardians, but Superman is not Guardians of the Galaxy,
No,
right?
I get I
Very
get
different
that.
type of story. And the question is, can he pull it off, and will he be willing to give us a proper Superman, or is it going to be something that, once again, an attempt to subvert expectations, an attempt to deconstruct, an attempt to, you understand? And that's all hinges on him, but it also hinges on, how much control does he have? Is he, because we all know that the whole DEI thing is a thing in Hollywood. It's there. Will he be forced to do that? And if he does it, how much of it will he do, and how much will it affect the overall production? You understand what I'm saying? Like it's like I don't have a whole lot of confidence in that because of the track record, not just of James Gunn, but Hollywood in general, right? And so it's like, okay, we'll see, right? We'll
Mhm.
see how it goes. So far, like just looking at the casting and everything, it's like okay. I mean, it looks like it's pretty on the up and up. You know, well, but it's like for me, the jury's still out. You know, because it's like, yeah, man, you see this stuff and you're hopeful that at first it was just you just expect it to be decent just because it was decent before, right? Well,
Yeah,
not anymore, right? We can't really rely on that now, right? And so that's where I'm leery. I'm cautious, right?
yeah.
And like I said, the suit choice isn't helping, so it's not
Uh,
helping. But hearing about
I don't know.
the potential narrative, that does help a lot. It's like, oh, okay, so there's going to be more
Yeah,
emphasis on him being heroic. Actually, a hero actually being heroic. Go figure. Right?
I wonder if they're
I'll
gonna
never.
go with maybe not. I mean, you don't have to. I wonder if they're gonna go with pre Max Fletcher style Superman, where
Well, so far, no. Like just looking at the suit.
I mean that's true. No, I mean in the sense that where it's he could jump really high and he's really strong. Like he's little
Oh,
literal
you mean he's
strong.
not he's not flying. He's like
Yeah.
the circus strongman, basically.
Because I always wanted.
No, I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be post. I think he's gonna fly. He's gonna be Superman.
Okay.
So I don't see. I mean, that would be cool if they did went that direction initially, right?
Yeah.
And he works up to flying somehow. Like he
Yeah.
figures out his
That would
power
be
or
cool.
something. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I doubt if they're gonna do that. I mean, I doubt it. But yeah, that would be. I like that there's other heroes, so it's not just gonna be super. Although, look, it'd be nice to like Man of Steel was just Man of Steel, and for the most part, they gave us a entertaining movie. It's definitely, but I feel like they introduced Zod too early. That was my biggest thing. But
Yeah. I
it would be
mean, well, they
nice
were
to see
trying to.
something along the lines of the Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner movies, where the first movie it was just Superman and he was just saving people, right? He was stopping bad guys, and then he goes up against Lex Luthor, right, and defeats him. And
I
that would
mean,
be nice to see that. And then it escalates to Zod and Brainiac and eventually Darkseid, right? And the New Gods and all that stuff. It's like I don't know. It's for some reason it's like it's the same thing all over again with DC,
what do you
right?
mean?
Warner Brothers, where they introduce their universe, right? Because they want to compete with Marvel, and understandably, right? So they do Man of Steel, and the first thing they do is here's Zod, right? And I say, wow, that's kind of fast, right? like
Oh, I see.
like
Well, I
like he
mean,
has.
for that, it just seems like they were trying to recycle the beats from the first movie because people recognize Zod from the original movie
What
and
do you
the
mean?
sequel. I'm saying they brought in Zod because people recognize Zod from the classic movies. I did,
Oh well, I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, and honestly, I doubt if that was even the reasoning. But I think they just wanted to escalate the story as quickly as possible, so they brought in a heavy hitting villain. And it's like,
hmm
well, why not follow the same pattern as the Richard Donner, where you have his origins and everything, and then he's just being Superman, introducing himself to this world, right? Showing like, hey, aliens exist. B, he has amazing powers far beyond what we've ever seen, right? And he saves people. He's a humanitarian. He's good, right? And then because then it could have been him just earning the trust of the public by these amazing feats, going up against Lex Luthor and all that kind of stuff. And then in the next movie you get Zod, right? And then after that you get Brainiac. And then after that you get Dark Side and New Gods, and maybe you get up all these other Metallo and all that kind of stuff, right? Like it's like that's all I'm saying. And
that's fair.
I would have even done Lex Luthor in the first movie, then Lex Luthor escapes, hires Metallo. Like the whole Metallo story from the animated series. I thought that was
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's true.
And then he goes up against Metallo. Then you can have, maybe you do Cyborg Superman, right, or something like that. Hank Hinshaw, that whole thing. And then finally we get to like more galactic level
Isn't
villains, like
Metallo just Cyborg Superman?
um, yeah, I mean it's a bit redundant. Metallo though is powered by kryptonite, so that's kind of the twist, right? Here's a
Isn't
villain who's
oh
powered by
okay.
kryptonite, the thing that makes you weak, right? So it's
Okay.
he's a great villain though, but at least how he's portrayed in the animated series.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
but you understand, and then you get, like I said, you can get Cyborg Superman or something, or even Bizarro with the failed attempt at cloning Superman, right? And now you get Bizarro. Now it's like then you start bringing in uh, the galactic villains, right? And that would have been great to like build up to that. That's all I'm saying, right? Like we
Yeah.
don't, but it's like they tried to give us everything in that one movie, and then Batman versus Superman, like right, after that, and it's like, whoa, like you moving kind of fast. Now there are him and Batman, they're already nemesis, and they're gonna fight each other. Like
Yeah.
dang, we just got Man of Steel, right? He just got here, right? Like that's all I'm
Hmm.
saying. It's like, why are we rushing this whole narrative when to give it room to breathe, and like then we get Justice League right after that. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like give us introduce these guys, right? So and now here we are again with James Gunn, and we already know, I believe Green Lantern's going to be in it. We already got Mr.
Well, Guy
Terrific.
Garner, yeah.
We got well, that's Green Lantern.
Well, I'm
We have
just it's
we
a
have
different Green Lantern.
okay, it's still Green Lantern, regardless of which Green Lantern it is. It's Green Lantern, right?
Yeah.
That's galactic level stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah, you got Mr. Terrific. We got, even Mr. Terrific's fine, I guess, but we got Hawk Girl, all this stuff, and I guess Hawkman too. It's like, huh? So obviously they're going to introduce the Justice League idea. Maybe they already exist, and Superman is going to join. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, like okay, what happened to just Superman?
well, it looks like well. I mean, we already have that movie. It's the original Superman, and
I know
arguably
we've
Superman
already
was in,
had all this stuff. I mean, that's not the point. The point is, it's like you're introducing
not
Superman
in
into
movies.
another generation, but it's also now you're kind of throwing in everything in the kitchen sink with the versus let's get a story that focuses in, zooms in on Superman as a character
I mean,
and
you
build
say
and sort of
introduced, but
rebuild the mythos of Superman, and then introduce the other things that play against it, right? Or play with it, either
yeah,
way, right?
yeah,
Like Batman kind of plays against it initially, then it plays with it, right? Like I fight for justice from the shadows, you fight from the light, that kind of thing. It's like, why are we being so ham-fisted with like, oh, we got to throw it all in there, versus let's like build up to this, like you know Batman versus Superman. Like I said, I always look at the animated versions, the Bruce Timm run. You know,
yeah,
it's like they built up to it. They didn't, and part of it was the success of the Batman animated series, right? And the idea of, okay, let's do Superman now. And then is there a market for it? Is there demand? That's part of it. And then the licensing, of course, was an issue as well. But still, it's like it wasn't all kind of shoved in your face, right? We got a few
no,
seasons of Superman before we got the world's finest crossover, right?
hmm
And then from there we got Justice League, right? The animated series, and then from there we got Justice League Unlimited, right? So, whether it was intentional, you know, you understand what I'm saying? Like part of it, like I said, was driven by access and licensing and things like that. But it seemed to play out well. The way they rolled with it, and it worked because we got that progression of Batman, and then Superman, and then Batman and Superman, and then Justice League, and then Justice League Unlimited, right? Like
yeah,
you look at it, it's like, whoa, it really progressed pretty well. Like it makes sense, like they went from Earthbound, city,
yeah. I
just
mean, they also had time to do that because it was a TV show, not a movie.
well, at time they always have time regardless.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not about time; it's the fact that I think it's time and opportunity. Like I said, there's there's nuance in it, right? Because there's the legality of like even Bruce Timm admitted this when it came to Justice League, for example. He's like, well, we didn't have access to certain characters we wanted, right? So we worked with what we had, right? But then with that success of that show, okay, we're gonna do another season. Hey, we're gonna just go ahead and kind of reboot it and do Justice League Unlimited. And then the executives and they were like, okay, we got all the heroes now. We got everything now. Go ahead and do it. And that's where we got Unlimited, where it's like, yo, we got like
Green Arrow,
everybody, right?
Black
Like, yeah,
Alley
Green
Cat,
Arrow,
Black Cat, whatever.
Black Cat, yeah, Black Canary, and all that. It's like, yeah, that was awesome, right? Because they were like, hey, now we got all these characters, we can like do really cool stuff and have this whole thing. And that's all I'm saying. It's kind of like, and I think if they had the funds, obviously, and saw fit, they could have spun off other series or continued it, but focused on different heroes, different sets of heroes at different junctures, right? I mean, you could have went on virtually forever, and that's all I'm saying with movies. It's like, look, uh, Disney Marvel gave us over a decade of movies, from really great to somewhat mediocre, right? But
Yeah,
you look back and you compare it to movies post Endgame, and it's kind of like, yo, those are like the glory days, right? Like
yeah.
those movies were excellent, because it
I mean,
did
in
something.
comparison, yeah,
Yeah, and but it did something. It progressed in a way where it feels intuitive and logical, right? We started with with the Hulk movie, and then Iron Man, and and it just went from there. And we went from terrorists and basically kind of earthbound, right? Villains, like with Iron Man, it was about these guys who were getting revenge on Tony Stark, right? That kind of stuff,
hmm,
to Avengers literally fighting aliens, right? Alien invasion, you know,
yeah,
and then of course we got Civil War and all that good stuff. But you understand what I mean? Like, and ultimately we got Thanos, right? It's like it was a logical progression, cinematically speaking, right? It was kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. You start small, you start Earthbound, and then you build to the galactic level stuff, right? And I feel like Warner Brothers didn't get the memo, right? Like, it's like they just threw everything in the kitchen sink, and it all just kind of came out of nowhere, right? We get Justice League, and so okay, here's this speedster guy. Okay, who is he? What's his story? What's it about, right? Then it's like we got the Flash movie after the fact. We got the Aquaman movie after the fact.
yeah.
It's like, oh,
There was no
okay,
build up to the crossover.
yeah. There's no origins. There's nothing that says this character is special for these reasons, right? We didn't even get a cyborg movie. I mean, I
No.
technically I look at Justice League, at least the second iteration, the Zack Snyder, extended one, as a cyborg movie, because
Oh,
there was
really?
more scenes with cyborg. He was more essential to the story than in the first iteration, right? And it's
Mm,
kind of like, so why didn't we just get a cyborg movie? Why? It's like, why is there this hyper emphasis on doing this? And it's because of the Avengers, right? It's because
yeah.
we gotta do Avengers style movies, storytelling. And it's like, well, no, you don't, right? You
Well,
don't.
even if they wanted to do that, they skipped a lot of steps.
I know, but that's my point. You understand? It's like they're what's the saying?
They're
They
putting
put the
the carrot before
cart
the
before the
horse. Yeah.
horse, and rather than being patient and saying, "Hey, look, we got VIP," right? And they do. Warner, I'm of this opinion, because I'm a DC fan, that they have better characters, right? Because more of DC characters are iconic, right? Like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, right? And the Flash. It's like they really are. Um, like every every superhero post Superman that flies and is bulletproof and is really strong is basically a iteration of Superman, right? We know this. It's
Yeah.
inspired by, like, you can't get away from it. Every vigilante superhero is an iteration of Batman, right? Every
Yeah.
female superhero is an iteration of Wonder Woman. Like, it is. That's just true. Why? Because they're iconic. That's fine, right? Now you can argue like Iron Man or Spider Man. Yeah, definitely Spider Man for sure. But generally speaking, like, yeah, they, you know, by leaps and
But
bounds.
even Iron Man didn't become as popular as Superman and Batman until the movie.
Right, until the movie, right? And even then, there's a strong association with Robert Downey Jr. Like it has more to do with him and as an actor than does the character
The
itself.
character itself, yeah.
Which is fine, but but in any case, it's like they don't treat their IP like it is, like it's as special as it really is, right? It's like they just threw out all the legacy and the mythos created and just said, well, we got to compete, so we're just gonna you know fast forward everything. We're just
Yeah,
gonna follow the trends, even though the trends aren't really trends, right? It's just what trends on Twitter or something like that. That's not a reflection of what your audience wants, right? Not really, you know. And I think that's where they dropped the ball, and that's why they didn't do as well as they could have. And so you got a few things like Wonder Woman, right? Wonder Woman was great, the first one, and
yeah.
the second Suicide Squad, right?
It's
Yeah,
funny is that that's not even a sequel. It's just a different
yeah, it's
movie.
just a second. Yeah, it's. I mean, it was kind of this soft reboot, I get, of the first one, right?
Right, but
It
it
played,
so
and it,
soon. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, well, because it's just like Justice League. It's like you got a Josh Whedon version, then you got a Zack Snyder, and look, it's understandable considering because at the time I think Zack Snyder had a personal situation he had to do, and that's why he couldn't finish the movie. So
I see.
that's understandable.
That I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe that's why he couldn't finish it, and then Josh Whedon had to, but then when that happened, I think there was an idea of like, well, it needs to be this lighter, brighter tone, which that's what he did, but it didn't work because it's out of nowhere. Like you haven't established that. He should have maintained and retained what Zack Snyder was already doing, and I think it probably would have worked better, right? But that's neither here nor there. But the point is and for the record, I don't care for Zack Snyder's version of Justice League or any of the you know
Right.
I don't care for it. It's like the second one is better than the first one, the Justice League movie. It may be longer, obviously, but it is better. But um, that's relative to each other. But just as Justice League, I don't care for it. Like it's like, because once again, it's rushed. Like nothing is set up. I mean, the guy did a 4 hour or something like that. Two part movie, and it's still rushed.
Yeah, it really
Like
is.
it's still rushed because nothing is really. You just added some extra scenes for context, and that was good, but it's still rushed because it's like, bro, like what he should have advocated for was a series, and then he could have built up each hero right throughout the series and tapped into their origins, things like that, and created these separate arcs, and then you culminate after at season 3 or something or 4 where they're not only have they come together, but now their arcs are done and they become the heroes they're supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
That would have been, I think, better received and more successful in my opinion. But it is what it is. But yeah, it's like they just Warner Brothers and DC they just keep trying to rush through, and that's my concern with James Gunn's iteration now. It's like, okay, he's kind of doing the same thing. He's throwing all these different heroes into one movie.
yeah,
You
but I
know,
don't
it's
think
like
they're gonna
why?
make a. I don't know. I could be
But it's like
wrong, but
why? Superman is enough. Superman is enough. One Superman in a movie that's about him is more than enough story. There's so many things you can do. You know, you're gonna get butts in the seat. You don't have to throw in the Justice League as well, right? Or Batman, or it's like give us some standalone movies. Give us a Superman movie. Give us a Batman movie. Give us a Wonder Woman movie. Give us a Green Lantern movie. Give us a Flash movie. Give us all those standalone movies that don't require cameos and crossovers. You understand? Like, give us a movie about this hero. You know, that's all I'm saying. And it's like, why aren't they doing that? It doesn't make sense. Because it's doable, and these characters are wildly popular. Like I said, they're iconic. who's not gonna watch it? Like you know what I mean? Like they're gonna watch it if it's good, but I don't know. So that's my that's my apprehension with James Gunn. Uh, I'm hoping that he pulls it off and that it's good, that it's great. You know, um, you know what I mean. So I don't you know wish him any ill.
No.
I'm just going. These are my thoughts. And going by what I've seen, what I've read. I've also heard apparently Chris Pratt wants to be in it. He's not going. He's not necessarily this particular movie, but in the DC universe. Right? He wants
Chris
to
Pratt is the voice of Superman.
play a character. Well, I've heard and read that he, like a lot of people are saying he could be Booster Gold or something. You
He
know,
could be Booster Gold.
I can see that. I can definitely
Yeah,
see him being Booster Gold. I think
that
that's
would
a really,
actually
really
be
good fit.
perfect. But that's
So
still be
yeah,
weird. But yeah.
no, it wouldn't be weird. I mean,
No, I'm just saying it's kind of
or just
weird
because we're
that
used to
Chris
him being
Pratt.
Star Lord. Is that what it is? That he's Star Lord, so he can't be.
No, it's the fact that he's kind of been in everything lately, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well,
I
yeah,
just
he's
think
been in
it's
like
funny
some major franchises,
because
right? He's been in Jurassic Park.
Garfield. He was Garfield. He
Yeah,
was
Garfield,
Mario.
Jurassic Park, Mario,
Yeah,
uh,
it's
Marvel.
just kind of random.
So now DC. Okay, yeah, I guess that's
So I'm
impressive.
not complaining. I just think it's funny because it's like because the meme is like, oh yeah, Chris Pratt's gonna be the voice of Bugs Bunny or something, or oh yeah, we're gonna make because he's the voice of Garfield and
Yeah, yeah,
Mario and stuff like that.
yeah. I'm not sure if that was a. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. You know,
I
but
didn't mind him as Mario. I mean, I didn't
no,
really have any.
Mario. He was great. He was fine as Mario.
And it's weird because I mean, he pulls off a
Oh, and
Brooklyn
Lego. We
accent.
forgot Lego.
Yeah,
He's
and then he was the Lego dude. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. He's getting around, man. So call him franchise man.
franchise man.
like,
No,
like
no.
seriously, like he's in every major IP, right? He's a
Yeah, I know, right?
central figure. But so yeah, I can see him as a booster
I can
gold.
see him as a booster goal. That I feel like
Yeah,
that makes too much
I mean, they
sense.
even said maybe Batman. I don't know about Batman.
No,
That's probably
no.
that's probably
That's a
pushing.
stretch.
Yeah, I don't see
I
him
don't
as.
know who said Batman. They
Well,
were smoking.
look, Chris Pratt is a good actor. He is.
That's not the problem. He's just not Batman.
Well, I don't. A lot of people didn't think Michael Keaton was Batman, and he pulled it off. So
I
yeah.
guess yeah. I mean,
So I, don't-
to be fair, I
I
only
think.
know Michael Keaton from Batman. So
See, I know. See, had you see growing up, Michael Keaton, he did a movie called was it Mr. Mom, I think, and
oh, I heard of that
he did
movie.
another one called Multiplicity. He was always playing these like comedic roles, right? Like
Oh, see, I
the
didn't know that.
clueless dad, that kind of stuff. And so when he was cast as Batman, a lot of people were hesitant, like Michael Keaton, like what? They were like, I think they were saying like he's too short and all this kind of stuff.
Oh
He's
wow,
coming from comedy
that's
world.
funny.
But when we saw the movie, like I admit, I watched it. I'm like, yo, yeah, he looks dope. Like, you know,
Okay,
he was great. So, and now he's iconic, right? Like, it's like a lot of people grew up seeing him as Batman, because he played Batman in two movies, and or was it three movies, two or three? And so
I
for a
think
lot
it's
of
two.
people, he's their Batman, right? And people that grew up watching, it's like he
That
is
is true.
Batman.
Yeah,
So that's why he was brought back for the Flash movie, right? And playing the older version of Batman.
yeah, I saw that.
And
Yeah,
it was like, okay, yeah, that was so. Yeah, I mean, he pulled it off quite well, and once again he's a great actor. So Chris Pratt, I mean, like if you've seen the Terminal List, you probably change your mind. He was great in that movie, in that
I
series.
remember seeing some scenes
So
from that, and he looks cool. I just
yeah,
that's not that I don't think he can play
he's
a serious role.
yeah,
I just
he's
think
really good. But he can be a dark kind of brooding character. So he did that well in that series. So you know, and then of course they're saying it could be the Flash or John Constantine. I guess I mean Constantine is supposed to be like British, isn't he? So
yeah, I
um,
don't know.
I mean, Keanu Reeves played him, so I guess Chris Pratt could do it. But
Yeah, but
I
did
think,
people like that movie?
yeah, yeah, a lot of people liked it.
Okay, I heard mixed things about it. So
Yeah, at the time, I don't think it did well box office wise, but yeah, a lot of
okay,
people kind of like it. But I think
okay.
Booster Gold um, is a probably the best fit. Um, they're also saying Green Arrow. Nah.
No,
Manchester Black. Once again, isn't he British? So
who? Oh, I
yeah,
think I know what you're talking about.
Superman versus the Elite. You ever see that?
Oh no, what are you talking about? Are we still talking about Chris Pratt? Or are we just naming?
Yeah. No, I'm saying those are the
No,
characters that some
the
are saying.
whole point of Manchester Black is that he's British and
I
he's a
know. I
puppet.
mean, I guess he could do a British accent or
No,
something.
I don't want Chris Pratt. Just get a British
But
actor.
yeah, I'd rather just cast the actual British actor.
Yeah.
It's like it seems like you can cast a British person to play English, right?
Yeah, I
American
mean
to
they've been doing
play,
that
but the
for
other way
the
around,
existence of Hollywood.
I don't think it works, right? I'm
No.
not sure, but
Well, it's
uh,
kind of like you can't. It's what's the saying? Uh, Adding layers or taking away layers is easier than adding layers when it comes to like being cold or whatever.
oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a good way to
You
look at it.
know,
Yeah, that's just
when you're British, you're just taking away
you're
a
just
layer.
removing that layer. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point. Yeah, but yeah, so that's kind of exciting. I would love to see him as Booster Gold. I think that's a solid fit. Like, yeah,
yeah. I think
and
Booster
it'll
Gold
be.
is like
I mean, honestly,
the most appropriate
if
thing.
they can introduce him like some kind of cameo or something in Superman, and then do a Booster Gold movie, that would be awesome. Like, I would watch a Booster Gold movie.
Uh, I
So
thought you were the Green Lantern.
that would be right. Yeah, that would be fun. And Chris Pratt, I think, could pull it off.
Yeah,
So we'll see. But
I feel like that's the best hero for him.
yeah, yeah, I think that it is a solid fit for him if he's
Anything else
definitely
just
willing
looks
to do it.
weird.
So yeah,
It's not as bad. It's just it would
I
just
mean, he
be
could probably pull off the Flash. Well, yeah, he could pull off the Flash. Um, maybe even
maybe.
Green Arrow, to be honest. But I don't know. I guess for me, like Justice League
But he doesn't look
animated
like a
series,
Robin Hood type. Like he
yeah,
has to, you know what I
that's
mean?
what the Justice League animated series is my template for everything. Like, because it
I
was
mean,
done so
because it's
well,
yeah,
it's like
because it was.
if it doesn't meet those standards, like visually, it just story wise, it's just not good. So, and I think that should be the case for any fans out there. Like, if you are a fan of the animated series, whether it's Batman animated series, Superman animated series, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, like that, those all those references should be the standard that these cinematic versions have to meet insofar as the quality of the stories and the portrayal of those heroes and characters. It's like if they're not meeting that standard, it's just dismiss it. That's how I see it. Because it's like,
Yeah,
yo, like those portrayals and those series were peak DC. Like
yeah.
really, they really were. Like there's right ever since I don't think there's I think Young Justice came close, especially the first two
I
seasons.
like Young Justice.
Um, Beyond that, it's garbage in my opinion. But those first two
I haven't
seasons are
seen
they're
anything
oh
past.
the last two seasons are terrible.
No.
It's like woke times a thousand. Like they just went off the rails. It's like yo, what is happening? But the first two seasons are chef's kiss. They're great. They're really good. So, and I think that was probably you know peak those first two seasons. you know, but yeah, it's if it doesn't meet those standards, like I'm just not even interested anymore. If it's like you already did it. Like you did it on the small screen. Just do what you did on the small screen on the big
Just
screen. That's it.
go back, Jack, and do it
Yeah,
again.
just go back and do it again, right? Like seriously. I mean, I don't think anybody would have an issue. Any fans of DC anything, right? Whether it's comics or the animated versions or even the recent movies, would have an issue with them just reiterating Batman animated series, Superman, and Justice League. and just doing it for the big screen.
Yeah.
Taking those same stories, those characters, and just okay, now let's sort of reimagine it for this movie, right, or a series of movies, right? And I'll be there for it all day, man. Like you know, it will be perfect. But they just won't do it. I don't understand why they won't do it. Why they no one's thought to do it. Maybe some have, and they're just not being listened to. Like it's weird. And so we'll see. I mean, yeah, we'll see. It's kind of frustrating, but
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see. I'm hopeful for James Gunn. I'm rooting for him. So hopefully he'll do a great job. You know, and give the fans what they want, right? What they want, what they didn't know that they wanted, right?
Yeah.
That's always great to get something like when Justice League came out. I didn't know I wanted that until I saw it.
Yeah.
Like we saw that and that the intro and everything was like, "Yo, yeah, I'm here for this," right?
Yeah, I
And
agree.
then JLU, it was like, "Yo, yeah, I'm here for this," right? Like
Well, what's
you didn't,
funny is, I think a lot of people talk about comic book accuracy, and I think my as someone whose introduction to a lot of DC stuff was the cartoon. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of it isn't quote unquote comic book accurate, like
true,
things that happen the same way. But from what I've read, when I did start reading the comics, I feel like Justice League and the Bruce Timm series did a good job of capturing the spirit of the
yeah,
comic books, and I
yeah,
think that's what's most important. Like as a Sonic fan, for example, like the reason why I still prefer the I think it was 1994 movie, the original Sonic OVA. Uh, people will know what I'm talking about versus the first Sonic movie that came out recently. Like I like Sonic too, but the reason why I love the original '90s movie is because it just captures the spirit of the Sonic games, like the whole the planet Mobius, the when they go into the Eggman City and it's dark and brooding, and they fight the the Mecha Eggman and whatnot. Like all that was like it made me wish like man, I wish that was in the games. Like nothing about and that's not to say I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I didn't enjoy the first Sonic movie, but there was nothing in the Sonic movie that made me go, man, I wish that was in the games. Man, I wish I could play as
right, yeah,
generic policeman in Sonic. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I feel like a video game movie should make you feel like you're experiencing the game, and two make you feel like, man, I wish that was in the real game. And the first Sonic movie didn't make me feel that. The
yeah,
second one did to a certain extent, which is why I really liked it. Like when they were snowboarding. I mean, that's just straight up from Sonic Adventure, the snowboarding section, and a lot of the Eggman robots had cool designs,
yeah,
and the whole using the rings to warp jump through planets is cool. That's something I that looks like something
yeah.
that's
That
really
was really cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I like
So
that.
there are aspects, and there are aspects that are really true to the games, like the whole scene where they discover the secret underground labyrinth. That's just labyrinth zone. Like that's literally like a Sonic level. So
Mm,
they did a lot more stuff to really uh, capture the feeling of the games. But
yeah,
I feel like nothing still comes close to the Sonic OVA movie. Just in terms of the vibe, the soundtrack. Oh man, the soundtrack. Like there's not really any iconic music from the Sonic movies, unfortunately.
yeah,
That really stick out to me. So I think I feel the same way about the a lot of the the whenever I watch an animated series, right? Like Brave and the Bold captures the essence of Adam West Batman, even though it's different enough from Adam West Batman, right? It captures the essence of what that was all about, which is, acknowledging the goofiness of superheroes while still taking it seriously enough to have cool stories. Um, what's it called? The Bruce, I mean, the original Bruce Timm Batman. Like obviously, a lot of those stories they came up with so many original characters
Yeah. Mm.
and villain archetypes that some of them became canon to the actual comic books, right? Because
Yeah, exactly.
they initially captured
Harley
the
Quinn being the most
essence
popular. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
well, and even surpassing it in many points, right? So
Yeah.
I think what comic book fans want isn't um, necessarily comic book accuracy, as in it needs to be one to one with everything, but more so capturing the essence of that world. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
kind of
I
that's
100% agree. It doesn't have to be one for one in the sense of stories or even character portrayals in the sense of
well. I think character
having a
portrayals is
character.
important.
No, no. But what I'm saying is having a character take on another dimension beyond what's in the comic, right? Like
Oh, I see.
that's okay to a certain degree as long as it aligns with the sort of the foundational principles of that character, right? So
Yeah,
uh, it's just like when they added flight to Superman, right? Was that a huge departure from his original iterations? Well, not necessarily because he could leap
well, it was
from
an
off.
evolution.
It was right, so it was seen more as an evolution of the character rather than a deviation. That's all I'm saying is
Yeah,
contextually it is possible, to interpret a character on the small screen or the big screen from the comics without and adding more texture or more qualities without it conflicting with the actual character itself, right? The origins of the
yeah,
character or the spirit of the character. And yeah, I agree. It doesn't have to be one for one. And yeah, all the animated versions are obviously aren't one to one, right? But they're pretty doggone close, right? And that's really they don't depart so far where you're like this character is unrecognizable.
yeah,
Like this just isn't the character at all. Like no, it's not like that. It's like yeah, this is my Superman, and oh, but he's this way or that way, or he's you know more husky or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's something that most fans would agree with, right? It's like yeah, you don't have to do, especially for the sake of narrative and um, medium, right? Television and movies are very different from a comic book, right?
yeah,
So with the comics, you're kind of free to do way more, you know, than you are for television or for movies, right? And then
yeah,
animation itself, because of its expense, it's freeing, right? Because you can literally do whatever you want, but it's also limiting because doing whatever you want costs a lot of money, right? So the more you want to do, the more it's going to cost. So there's still like some limitations, and but with comics, those limitations are reduced, you know, and so yeah, you're going to have some departures just for technical reasons, right? From
yeah.
what you see in the comic books, right? And that's okay. I don't. I think most people are fine with that, right? It's just when you depart in a way, in a manner, and speaking of which, like we're seeing with the show The Acolyte, right? Where you're seeing a huge departure from established canon, right? Like that's where you know um, people have contention,
Or
right?
it also seems like there's a lot of stuff that just has nothing to do with Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah, like the
Uh,
recent episode where, well, and look, Leslie Headland, the showrunner, she's pretty much admitted this that she's not really trying to entertain existing Star Wars fans, right? She's trying to lure in other fans, mostly female fans. And so now we're getting a more YA approach, a la Twilight, right? And the most recent episode is a reflection of that, right? And my question is, hearing about this is like, okay, so is Star Wars even for kids anymore? Is it a family friendly IP anymore? If we're going into, shipping and, like we already got gay, lesbian space witches now, and it's like, who are you trying to entertain? It's not me, and it's not a good majority of Star Wars fans. It's someone else. It's a whole different demographic, and that's evidenced by, like I said, the most recent episode. With a very risque scene. It's kind of like, oh, okay, like your audience is not uh, who we thought it was, right? And that's what's problematic, right? Such a departure from the actual established canon and mythos of the IP. You're just you're pushing away fans, existing fans, and you're bringing in fans, different fans, but are they fans of the IP, or are they fans of the topics that you're using the IP to accentuate, right? Like, you know what I mean? Are they
Hmm.
fans of the virtue signal, or are they fans of the actual series and the actual IP? You know, and that's really what's happening is, with this show, it's like every episode there's just more and more of this wedge being driven through, the fan base, where in its majority are being pushed away, and this very small contingency is still there, and they're celebrating and they're applauding, but they're not applauding Luke Skywalker, right? They're applauding the idea of quote unquote inclusivity, right? And DEI and representation and all these buzzwords. They're applauding that. They're not applauding the property itself, right? And yeah, it's like, in my opinion, that's going to be a dead end, right? It's not going to go anywhere meaningful, you know. And yeah, we'll see in the years to come, but I don't see how uh, it's going to last much longer as an IP, um, what's when you're doing properties like this, and you're clearly signaling that this isn't for you. you know, like that's the kind of the marquee, you know, that's kind of
Yeah.
in every show.
And
This
I think it's important to recognize because I remember I was watching. Someone made a comparison video of interviews from the prequel series and interviews from, I guess, this new series, and the new actors. Like, I don't want to call anyone stupid, but it just seems like they can't articulate anything coherent at all. Like they're just spouting a bunch of buzzwords, and I don't like
yeah,
to. And it's like they don't. It's like with the. I don't know any of the names, but like one of them was like, yeah, she's a woman in power, and then like she was just waiting for people to clap, even though that's the only thing she said. It's like, okay. But then I remember I was watching uh, an interview from a lady who was, I think she was one of the like the prime ministers in the Revenge of the, what's not Revenge of the the prequel movies, the like Attack of the Clones and all that stuff like
yeah,
that.
right, yeah. Revenge of the Sith.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and like she was talking about, oh yeah, this character she has to balance between uh, you know like I don't know, she was able to actually articulate the idea. It didn't seem like she knew anything about Star Wars, but she understood like the role she was
well,
playing.
she
Like, oh
understood the
yeah,
story. Yeah,
yeah. So like, yeah, she's this she has to balance being a woman and also being a person in power and what that entails, and she also has to. I wish I remember exactly what she said, but I felt like I was able to, you know, follow exactly what she was saying, and it wasn't
Yeah,
just
it's right.
hers.
It seemed relevant. And,
Yeah, and she probably
yeah.
said she's probably not a Star Wars fan, but she like I don't know.
Well, look, let's be honest. Most of these actors and actresses, going all the way back to the original, weren't fans of
Well, I
sci-fi
mean,
per
there
se,
wasn't really a
or Star Wars or any other the inspirations behind Star Wars, right? But they took their job seriously and they did it and they did it well, right? And I think as of late, yeah, it's clear that's still the case, but it seems like it's even more egregious, right? That um, it's almost like they don't care about what came before. Like like it doesn't matter. And like I said, based on a lot of what Leslie Helen is saying, it's kind of what she's saying. Like it's like, yeah, I'm not worried about those previous movies and iterations. I'm just doing what I'm doing, right? I mean, she admits like the latest episode with that scene, right? As you can see here, but it's like she got it from a fanfic. It's like, so she's literally taking
Wait, are you serious?
ideas. Yeah, that's what she said. I was sent one fanfic and I was absolutely surprised at how prescient it was. So she's being inspired by random fanfics where they're shipping characters. You know what I mean? Like it's like, huh? You know, like it makes no sense. It's like
But yeah,
what
if you
what
want to, yeah,
what are you trying to like? What are you trying to do with this? Like, are you trying to create something that's 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 on the level of the originals insofar as how it inspired a generation, or are you just trying to inject your I don't even know, like your proclivities, you know what I mean? Like it's just very strange. um so yeah, it's like she's not, she has her own vision, her and Kathleen Kennedy and her ilk, and it has nothing to do with Star Wars. Is it's like someone finds a sports car with the keys in the ignition, and they get in and start driving, right? That's it. Like, but it's a sports car, so it's meant to be driven fast, but you're driving at 20 miles an hour, right? Like that's not what it's meant for, right? So it's going to overheat. It's like that's kind of what's happening. They have this sports car called Star Wars, and they're getting in, they're driving, but they're going the wrong direction. They're not driving it fast enough. They're taking it to places where it doesn't belong, right? They're taking it you know, to church, and they're parking it in a underground garage, right? Like
yeah. I
it's
mean, yeah. I
driving it
mean,
down
you
PCH,
could watch the
where
interview for
everybody
your.
like it's just yeah, you're misusing this beautiful IP for your own proclivities, whatever
Yeah,
they are.
and you guys can watch the interview for yourself. It's a video by a YouTuber named Gimbo. It's called Two IQ versus 300 IQ cast interviews. Basically, it's comparing. It was the interview with the woman who played Anakin's girlfriend in the movies, because she was a politician and
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
right.
that.
Princess Amidala. Yeah.
Yeah. So and she was talking about, yeah, it's she was talking about how the character is about balancing being a woman and being a politician and being a leader to different people and the consequences of that. And it's like, okay, yeah. I mean, it sounds like she actually sounds like she's invested in the role. Like she's not just like, she wasn't just spouting catchphrases or anything like that. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I
get
mean?
it, and that's what I mean. It's in just the way apparently the Jedi aren't these good protectors, and wielders of the Force. They're, I guess, morally ambiguous, or like it. It's just more of the same old modern, postmodern deconstruction that's happening, and it's kind of getting old, you know, old and tired. And now they're introducing, like I said, they're appealing to shippers and to tweens, girls or whatever who want, you know, this Twilight style romantic dynamic, right? And it's kind of like, okay, like what is happening, So yeah, it's tiring, and it just reaffirms, that I'm happy I canceled Disney Plus. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Disney
I don't
Plus.
regret it. Nothing. They've haven't produced anything since I've canceled it where I go, oh man, I wish I had my subscription. No, I, I'm just it just reinforces like, yeah, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I stopped supporting that company. I'm glad I'm not wasting my money to watch shows I that aren't for me. They just aren't. And I don't think they're for most people, and most especially Star Wars fans. So, or even Marvel fans for that matter. Um, so yeah, um, it's like that's an example. It's like it's such a stark departure from the actual IP itself and the mythos that's been established. A lot of fans have already pointed out other contradictions and with certain characters. Um, the idea of these, I guess, these twins being birthed from the power of the Force, which negates Anakin Skywalker's birth. Like, yeah, I don't. It's clear this stuff wasn't well thought through. Or it was, and that's the intent. The intent is to literally subvert what's come before. You know, there's only two options: either they're that dense that they aren't really thinking through their storytelling, or they're intentionally subverting what's been established. Right?
Well, what's funny is, there's a lot of, and I mean a lot of Star Wars books, and
Yeah,
they could have easily made
decades worth.
adaptations of those stories,
Right, but they completely
but
ignore the vast majority of it. Right? Like that's what I'm saying. I mean, my only conclusion is those two things, and I'm leaning towards willfully subverting. It's just like Congress, right? You look at Congress, you look at government, you look at the national debt, and you look at high taxes, and you look at war, and you look at the state of the economy in general, inflation, and you wonder, like, is all this incidental, right? Is it just a product of bad policies that had very little to no foresight, right? No, very little forethought to say, well, how would this affect us 10 or 20 years down the road, right? Or is it intentional, right? Is Congress really that inept and stupid, or are they intentionally corrupt? You understand what I'm saying? And
yeah,
it's one of those things, and some could argue, well, maybe it's both, right? Maybe there's a lot of people who are just inept that shouldn't be there, but they get there because of they're handsome or pretty, and
nepotism.
they're good talkers and people vote for them. But the reality is they're incompetent, right? And then there's another half that's are willfully evil. They're terrible people, and they know that these policies hurt regular people, but they don't care because it's enriching them somehow, right? Maybe it's I think it's a mixed bag, and I think that may be the case with Hollywood itself. On a more micro level, is that sure every actor and actress, crew member, production person, assistant, etc., isn't championing uh, the message, right, quote unquote, right? Many of them, it's like, hey, this is a job, right? This is my career. This is what I do for a living, right? Um, but there are those who are champions of the message and who are willfully subverting traditional values, and these very successful IPs, and doing it on purpose to tear it down or to simply change it from what it was to something completely different, right? They're willfully doing that. And I think that may be the case, right? It's a mix of those two groups. Those people who they don't care, right? They're not, uh, they're not looking for it, and don't maybe they're not even aware of it, right? Um, they're just doing their jobs, right? And then there's those. like I think a Leslie Headland and a Kathleen Kennedy, they know exactly what they're trying to do, and they're doing it right. Um, and like I said, like I've been saying, their goal isn't to entertain you. Their goal is to simply propagate a specific message, right? Um, it's not about entertaining you, and it's not about giving you something that you want. It's giving you what they want you to want, if that makes sense, right? It's what
Yeah,
they want you to want it, right? And you're gonna want it whether you like it or not. You're gonna get this whether you want it or not, whether it's in demand or not, whether it's something that resonates with you or not. Doesn't matter. You're gonna get it, and then it's gonna change your mind, right? It's gonna make you into uh, this kind of person, whatever that is, right? I think that's the attitude. Is like this is their mission. It doesn't matter if you like it. It's like, oh, they're just haters. I ignore and they say this. I ignore the haters. I ignore the criticisms. I just don't pay attention to it. And they see it as like they're being persecuted. Like they're on this noble journey, and they're facing resistance from the naysayers and the ignorant class who are stuck in the 1950s, and they're all misogynists and sexist and racist. You know, even us, even black folks,
yeah,
you know, even other women, right? Those women are misogynists if you don't like what we're doing. Like it's the most ridiculous thing, but that's their mentality, right? They're championing these ideals, this inclusion, DEI stuff. So that's what It's a noble cause. It's not, but I think that's what they believe. You know, and then there's others. I think maybe in the upper echelon, and they know it's bad, but they don't care. you know, they don't care. Yeah, So yeah, it's unfortunate, and I think the key uh, going forward for us, for fans, for general audiences, is to become more aware of it and to reject it and to just move on. Move on and find uh, what is good, right? Like I talked about Ultraman Rising in the last stream. It's on Netflix, and so if you still have Netflix, watch it. It's really good. It's a great movie. It's very inspiring. It's beautiful. The animation is gorgeous.
yeah.
Character,
I've seen some clips. It
yeah,
looks really cool.
it's a really good movie. I've watched it like 3 times already. It's very good, and it's what we need more of, in my opinion. We need more movies like that have heroes who are willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, willing to do what's right, no matter how inconvenient it makes your life, no matter how difficult it is. You still do what is objectively right, and that movie exemplifies that. So I say, look for those gems and support those gems, support those movies and properties that are giving you what you want, right? That are they're entertaining you, and they truly care that you enjoy it, right? They truly want to inspire you and give you a good story. Um, they're out there. It seems scarce, but it is out there, And I hope that ultimately you'll see, that's what we're trying to do with our IP, with Super Galactic Fantastic Dimension. We're trying to do that, to entertain you and give you something that inspires you, and we're not trying to, you know, propagandize you or anything. We're just trying to tell great stories, right? Great characters, great stories, and I hope you'll join us in this journey and support us, and check out our site supergalacticfantastic.com and get to know some of our characters there, and join our mailing list. And we'll be launching our campaign later this year. So we're looking at September. So hopefully you'll come alongside us and support and help, and get some great entertainment while you're at it. So But I think we're going to cut it short. We're at 10-1. So, you got anything you want to add?
Uh, no, I mean, we appreciate you and make it a fantastic day.
Make it a fantastic day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you around, Dad. Gosh, you
Uh,
messed it up.
well, that's your line.
I know, but I took your line.
All right, we'll see you around.